What's up, everybody? You are now tuning into From the East Side with Love. As always, it's your boy Kosher, and let's get into it. It's NFL week, baby. The first week of the NFL season. Big things. Everybody loves this sport. Let's talk about it. This episode, we're gonna talk about top 5 QBs, my top 5 QBs, super early Super Bowl predictions, and I have my top 5 predictions for the season. Now, before we get into it, guys, check out my YouTube channel, From the East Side with Love 562. Please subscribe, like, and subscribe if you like these videos. Kosher FTESWL on TikTok. Also on X, if you guys want to hit me up on social media. And then on IG, From the East Side with Love _ under each word. Yes, sir. Please show the love, like it, subscribe, drop comments. What would you guys like for me to go over? I'll talk about it. Definitely thank y'all for the support. It's very encouraging. And yeah, big news ahead. Anyway, guys, again, the biggest thing right now is it's NFL season. So, with NFL season, we got to talk about the first game of the season, man. Cowboys versus Eagles. Now, rivalry game right off the back, and Super Bowl champs and the Eagles going against the Cowboys. What do I see? I see the Eagles. They're going to be at home. They're going to win. I think it will be first week of the season games are fluky. Anything can happen. So people are like, well, you really can't count it. But it all matters, especially at the end. You need to get, like, even these fluky games, as crazy as they may be, because people are trying to figure things out at on their first week to get their groove on. Those loose ends will matter at the end, especially if you're trying to fight for a playoff spot. Which I don't think the Eagles will be. I think the Eagles will have a playoff spot firmly in their division. But the Cowboys, if they want to do anything, which I don't think they will be able to do anything this year. Yes, they did trade Micah Parsons, but I just don't think they're a good enough team. I think that they'll be tied in the bottom of their division with the Giants. I think the Commanders will still be solid, and I think the Eagles will be even. I don't want to say even better, but I think they will have the number one spot in their division. I do think they'll be a top team in their conference as well. I'll talk about my Super Bowl predictions, but yeah, I see Cowboys losing, getting rolled on. I think Jalen Hurts has a solid performance, and I think Saquon at least gets 100 yards. Hurts might throw 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. I see Dak 1 pick, 1 touchdown. Maybe I see Dak 2 touchdowns, 1 pick as well. But I don't see the Cowboys putting up more than 20 points. I see the Eagles probably putting up 30. So that's not the only primetime games we have this. Oh wait, that's not that. This week, I was looking at this website called the Playoffs, and I was like, okay, well, Thursday night game, Dallas versus Philly. We already mentioned who I think is going to win that, which will be Philly. And then tomorrow on Friday, we have the Chiefs versus the Chargers. So that's a good game. Another division game. Another rivalry game. I think Kansas City at home should just handle that, win that pretty easy. I do like the Chargers, But I feel like with Patrick Mahomes' last performance, which is the Super Bowl, he's gonna come out pretty assertive and feel like he has a chip on his shoulder, which I think is gonna be dangerous. I think a disrespected Mahomes in his mind will make, because Mahomes low key was kind of crowned as the GOAT already, and X amount of Super Bowl appearances and so many years and wins and blah blah blah. So I think he needed that humbling of the last year, and now Mahomes is not just a hunted; he's going to be the hunter. So I feel like the Chargers, even though I do defensively, they still suck. And again, we're not sure about the receivers on the Chargers yet, but I do think that the Chiefs are just gonna, Mahomes in particular, I think are gonna use the Chargers as a stepping stool to going back not only to the playoffs but might be a Super Bowl prediction as well. So let's we'll get to that soon. So other primetime games. So we talked about Thursday night. There's also a Friday night. But what about Sunday night? Sunday night is the Bills versus the Ravens. Now that's a game right there. Okay, so Josh Allen versus Lamar. Um, Number 1A, 1B for the MVP candidate of last year. I believe this will be a high scoring game. I think Lamar, just like Mahomes, feels disrespected from last year, should have won the MVP, but for whatever reason, the politics or whatnot, he didn't get it, and Josh Allen did. Both had great seasons, including Joe Burrow, but I believe that it was Lamar's to win. Um, I think he goes into Buffalo to make a statement. Josh Allen, who I thought would have took a little step back last year, did even better, and obviously won MVP. Um, it'll be interesting to see him build off that momentum. And I feel like sometimes when you want to, count out Josh Allen or Lamar, they seem to take it personal and overcome. So this game is going to leave a bad taste in one of these opponents' mouths, one of these teams' mouth. It would either fuel them when they lose, or if they win, it's just going to be another confidence booster. So whoever loses, bet we'll see you around. Most obviously the playoffs now because they're not in the same division. But if you win, it's like we caught you out week 1. We could do it again week 18, week 19. You know what I'm saying? So, I believe that Josh Allen will try to cement. I'm gonna pick all home teams. I think that Josh Allen wins at home, solidifies why he was the MVP of last year, continues that momentum. But look for Lamar Jackson to be like, I got you. I got you. We'll take this L, but we're going to bounce back. So that's Sunday night's game. And then we have Monday Night Football. The Bears will host the Vikings on Monday night. So, J.J. McCarthy versus Caleb Williams. Now, I don't know too much about what J.J. McCarthy has. I honestly don't. And Caleb has had a so-so preseason. This will be a defensive game. Again, I said I was picking all home teams, so I'll go with the Bears on this one. Another rivalry game, division game. I think it's going to be an ugly game. Um, Again, we don't know what to expect from JJ. He has the better weapons, obviously, Justin Jefferson. So for all we know, that might be the matchup that we got to look out for, and the connection that we got to look out for, and that might be enough. Um, but I believe the Bears can edge this out, and it won't be a knock to the Vikings. I think Caleb will figure things out. Obviously, I think he has another new offensive coordinator, so it's gonna be trying. I don't know if this game is gonna be the most exciting Monday Night Football game, but for defense lovers, I think that's what it will be. I'm gonna go with Caleb edging it out against JJ because I don't know what JJ has, and obviously I say that tongue in cheek because Tennessee gotta add him in. Obviously, that's my team. Cam Ward. Um, I think also how do teams scheme for a player that you don't know, like these rookies, but you gotta pressure them and throw everything at them. So I think that's what the Bears will do against JJ. And at least Caleb has a year to reflect and see, so he may be a little bit more calmer, and that's why I believe that he'll be able to pull it through. So those are my primetime predictions. Now, way too early Super Bowl predictions. Um, for the NFC, I have either the Lions or Tampa Bay versus the Eagles. I do think the Eagles will make it back to the NFC. I don't think the Niners will be there. I don't believe in the Vikings. I think the Packers will be competitive, but not. That's not their year. I think the Commanders will be good. I don't think it's their year. Um, I don't think there's any other teams that really pose too much of a threat. And forgive me if I'm not counting your team, but I do think the Lions or Tampa Bay versus the Eagles, or any of those three teams combination. Um, those are the teams that I'm looking at for the NFC. And then for the AFC, I think it's going to be a hard bargain to get Mahomes out of there. So I do count the Chiefs to be there. And I think the Bengals and Buffalo. Now, we all know the AFC is basically like a Western. It's killed or be killed. Dog eat dog. you, you got the Ravens, right? You got Denver, who could be a surprise team. You've got the Texans. Their defense is going to be no joke this year. The Chargers could probably win with Justin Herbert. Not win the Super Bowl, but they can win games. Um, you know, all the good quarterbacks. I mean, Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers. There's like a myriad of teams that could pull it off on the AFC side. Um, so I got the Chiefs versus the Bengals in Buffalo. I do believe that Joe Burrow has a chip on his shoulder because of what happened last year. I think Josh Allen against further cements himself as why he won the MVP last year, and they will, as long as they don't face either the Bengals or the Chiefs, I think they can beat Lamar. So this goes back to week one, right? I think that the Buffalo Bills, if they have home field advantage, if they don't have home field advantage, that might go Lamar's way if they have to face the Ravens. And I think the Chiefs, regardless of where they're gonna go, they're gonna. I think Patty Mahomes is gonna try to right his wrong. So if it's not Joe Burrow, then I think it's Patty Mahomes that makes it to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts hasn't seen it and probably can get there again because he has a great team around him. But I think a more dynamic team would be the Lions or Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield, I think, surprised a lot of people last year, and I think he can build on that. And I think Jared Goff, as long as the Lions don't get any fluky coach calls and play to their strengths, they could easily win. I also will venture to say, though, that even though I have the Eagles and the Chiefs as one to the two teams that will be in the Super Bowl, I do think a new team will win the Super Bowl. I do think a team that hasn't won it before will win it. So that could be the Bengals. I don't believe Buffalo has won it before, so it could be Buffalo. And it could definitely be the Lions. Tampa Bay's obviously won it. Tom Brady and most recently and the year with Warren Sapp. Um, the Eagles obviously won it last year. The Chiefs won it 2 years prior. So even if the Eagles or the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl, if they're not going against each other and a new team goes and fight, faces one of them, I think a new team will win. And obviously, if the Eagles and Chiefs don't make it, I do believe it will be a team that's new, that hasn't won it before. Not even just a team that hasn't won it in like the last 30 years or something. It'll be a team that hasn't won it before. So that's actually going into my next thing of top five predictions, and then I'm gonna go top five QBs. So top five predictions for this year. Again, I am a Cam Ward fan. I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. You can't tell me nothing. So, with that being said, I have Cam Ward winning Rookie of the Year. And I don't think it's close. I've heard, and I think because he is the only starting rookie quarterback in week one, that it's just gonna help him. Now I know that I think the Chargers have a good running back, and I think the actually gently on the Raiders. But that's another running back. But I got Cam Ward winning Rookie of the Year. For MVP, I got Joe Burrow or Lamar actually winning MVP. Um, I think Joe Burrow and this will go. These two will go for top five QBs. I think Joe Burrow um is just gonna have another outstanding year, and it's gonna be hard to deny him. And I think Lamar is gonna have another outstanding year. The thing that's what's crazy is I don't know how Lamar is gonna be able to outdo what he did last year. Right? Like everybody's gonna look back at last year and be like, dang, he wanted if he wins it this year, but he had worse stats than last year, it's gonna be like, what the heck? Obviously it's gonna be predicated on his competition, but even if his competition doesn't do as well, then what the heck? So, um, between Joe Burrow and Lamar, I believe the Packers will have more wins than the Cowboys. The reason why this is a prediction for me is because the Cowboys have 2 number 1 picks next year and the year after of the Packers. But if the Packers are a better team, not to discredit any number 1 picks, but it's not going to be like a top 10 pick. So there's where that comes in. I believe that the Chargers or Denver could push for a wild card. And I know that might not be surprising, but I think those are the 2 dark horse teams in the AFC to look out for. And Denver with Bo Nix, obviously their defense is lights out. It'll be interesting to see how they progress. And Harbaugh, just a well-coached team. I do think they still have defensive lapses and not, good receivers. So we'll see what they do, but they can surprise people as well. And dark horse teams will be Tampa Bay Commanders as well. Now, Commanders obviously took people by surprise. Rookie quarterback Jalen Daniels and what he did last year. The sophomore slump could happen, or he could build off a strong year last year. But look what happened to C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud had a great first year, sophomore slump. Now he's in his 3rd year. Will he be able to correct the ship? Same with the Commanders. I think the Commanders, Jalen Daniels had a great first year. Will he have a sophomore slump? Remains to be seen. But I think those are 2 teams you got to look out for, Tampa Bay and the Commanders. And I do think, again, prediction, a team that hasn't won the Super Bowl before will win the Super Bowl. So that could be Tennessee. That could be the Bengals. That could be the Commanders. No, the Commanders actually have won the Super Bowl. Excuse me. The Chargers. So, the Lions. The Bengals. I don't know if the Bills have. I don't think they have. So yeah. So those are my top 5 predictions of this year. If I want to add a bonus, I do believe the tight ends will win 7 to 8 games. All right. So my top 5 QBs, and this is just passing, right? I'm gonna go over this kind of quickly, but hear me out. Patrick Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, Josh Allen, Jared Goff. So, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jared Goff. Now, you're probably like, okay, what about Hurts? This is why I have Jared Goff, but it's like a 5-way, like a 4 or 5-way tie, because I got Goff, Hurts, C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert. Like those guys are all like in the same boat to me, and I feel like they all could be there. And they've shown the potential to be great. Or at least not respectable, because they are respectable. But they are a true threat. And what hurts, it's easy because he has such a great team around him. With Goff, again, it's the same thing, but I do believe Goff has played his ass off in Detroit. He's almost like the Josh Allen of the NFC. C.J. Stroud, I think the Texans are going to be a force to reckon with. Their defense, their offensive line, dude. I don't know what's going to happen. They may get wrecked. The CJ may get wrecked, but I do believe he has strong talent. Jaden Daniels, with how he came in last year, the VR situation, the how he took basically a lottery team into the playoffs, that turnaround, outstanding. Obviously, CJ Stroud did it as well. Until we see bad footage of Jaden Daniels, I gotta ride with him. And Justin Herbert has always put out extraordinary stats for a quarterback, um, or really good stats. Nothing to scoff at. So he's always out there. I think he's just a threat. Um, those are my top 5 quarterbacks. I love players like Matt Stafford. You could put Baker up there. Well, Baker played his butt off last year. Um, let's see who else. I think Jordan Love could. Tua is interesting because if he's healthy, he can play his butt off. Um, but you know, he got to stay healthy. But yeah, so those are my predictions. Those are my top 5 quarterbacks going into this year as well. I think Joe Burrow is going to be a monster. Obviously, like I said, Patrick Mahomes has a chip on his shoulder. He's going to look to do what he does and try to dominate. Um, Josh Allen, Lamar, MVP candidates with Burrow. Well, Burrow and Lamar are my MVP candidates. Allen obviously has won an MVP, and then I think Jared Goff again. I think he's the NFC Josh Allen, and I think you can't scoff at Hurts for doing what he does in the system that he has. So that's my time, guys. I thank y'all for joining and participating with me. Again, please like and subscribe if you like the content. Kosher at FTESWL on X and on TikTok. From the East Side with Love underscore to each word on IG. From the East Side with Love 562 on YouTube. Please show love, guys. Share the content. Stay blessed. Stay positive. We out. Peace.